The ships of the Galactic Confederacy entered the Sol system quietly. They moved past the gas giants and ice planets with barely a ripple in space. Their stealth technology was perfect. Not a single human radar or telescope noticed them. On the command ship, High Commander Zixvar stood with his forearms clasped behind his back. His scaled skin reflected the blue glow of the ship's monitors as he studied the third planet from the yellow star. Earth, he said, the word strange on his forked tongue. Such a simple name for our next conquest. Captain Mreltok, his second in command, approached with a data pad. Our scouts report the planet is rich in resources, sir. Water, minerals, and compatible atmospheric conditions. And the natives? Zixvar asked. Primitive, Mreltok replied with a dismissive gesture. They've achieved basic spaceflight but haven't expanded beyond their moon. Their weapons are crude, nuclear but limited. They spend more time fighting each other than looking to the stars. Zixvar nodded slowly. The Confederacy had conquered 32 worlds in the last century. Each species now served a purpose in their expanding empire. Some provided labor, others resources or specialized skills. Humans would find their place too. Show me their leaders, Zixvar ordered. The main screen filled with images of Earth's nations and governments. Zixvar watched with growing confidence. The humans were divided, their alliances fragile. They would be easy to defeat. We will begin observation, he decided. Send stealth probes to all major cities and military installations. I want to know their weaknesses before we strike. For 3 Earth weeks, the Confederacy watched. Their tiny probes, no bigger than insects, recorded everything. They listened to military communications, mapped defense systems, and studied human behavior. In the ship's strategy room, the military council gathered around a holographic display of Earth. Their technology is at least 200 years behind. Ours, said General Krav, the head of ground forces. Their most advanced weapons would barely damage our scout ships. Admiral Pex, leader of the space fleet, pointed to Earth's satellite network. Their communication systems are vulnerable. We can blind them in minutes. Zixvar listened carefully. And their greatest strength? The council fell silent for a moment before Science Officer Lyra spoke up. Numbers, perhaps. There are nearly 8 billion of them, and they adapt quickly. Zixvar waved a dismissive hand. Numbers mean nothing without proper weapons or unity. As for adaptation, they won't have time. He walked around the hologram, studying the blue and green planet. The Confederacy needs this world. Its position in this sector is strategic, and its resources will fuel our expansion for decades. What of the Council of Elders' recommendation? For first contact, asked Lyra. The peaceful approach has worked with other species. Zixvar's eyes narrowed. The Council is not here on the frontier. They don't understand what we face. Humans are too unpredictable, too aggressive. They would resist integration. A swift conquest is more efficient. He touched the hologram, and it zoomed in on Earth's military bases. We will strike their defense, capabilities simultaneously. Once their militaries are crippled, we'll target their governments. Without leadership, the population will surrender quickly. The council members nodded in agreement. None dared challenge Zixvar's authority or experience. Prepare the invasion fleet, he ordered. We attack in 3 days. As the council dispersed, Zixvar remained alone with the hologram. He reached out one clawed hand and enclosed the tiny image of Earth in his palm. So small, he murmured. So unaware of what comes. In the darkness of space, the Confederacy ships began to move. Stealth gave way to purpose as hundreds of vessels positioned themselves around Earth. The invasion force was ready. And on the blue planet below, humans went about their lives, looking up at the night sky with wonder but seeing nothing of the armada that waited to descend upon them. The conquest of Earth was about to begin. The first attack came at dawn. Bright lights filled the sky over every major city on Earth. People pointed, took videos, and called their friends. Many thought it was a meteor shower or strange weather. They didn't know it was the beginning of the end. The alien ships dropped their stealth shields and opened fire. Red beams cut through the morning air, striking military bases, power plants, and government buildings with perfect accuracy. In Washington, D.C., the Pentagon was hit first. The massive building crumbled in seconds. Before emergency calls could go out, the White House and Capitol were struck too. Similar scenes played out in Moscow, Beijing, London, and every capital around the world. Earth's military forces tried to respond. Fighter jets scrambled from surviving bases. Missile silos opened. Submarines launched their weapons. But the aliens had mapped every defense system on the planet. They knew exactly where to strike and what to avoid. Most of Earth's missiles never left the ground. Those that did were easily shot down. Fighter pilots reported their targeting systems failed when pointed at the alien ships. Nothing worked the way it should. By noon, 90% of Earth's military capabilities had been destroyed. By evening, most governments had fallen or gone into hiding. In just one day, the planet that had survived world wars, natural disasters, and countless human conflicts had been brought to its knees by an enemy it never knew existed. Lieutenant Samantha Riley watched it all happen from an unexpected place of safety. The underwater research station where she was stationed sat hidden beneath the Arctic ice, 300 feet below the surface. It was a small facility, studying ocean, currents, and climate patterns. With a crew of just 12 people, 5 were military personnel, assigned to protect the scientists and their work. The station had lost contact with the outside world when the attack began. Riley had been in the communication room, trying to restore the connection, when the emergency system activated. A sealed compartment opened, revealing a secure military terminal she didn't know existed. The terminal connected to a separate communication network, one designed to survive even nuclear war. Through this system, Riley saw the reports coming in from around the world. She watched footage of the alien ships. She saw the destruction of military bases and the fall of governments. Lieutenant, what's happening? Dr. Peterson, the lead scientist, stood in the doorway. His face was pale with worry. Riley looked up from the screen. We're being invaded, she said simply. The words felt strange, like something from a movie rather than real life. By who? Russia? China? Not human. Riley pointed to the screen where a clear image of one of the alien ships appeared. We're being invaded by aliens. Dr. Peterson stared at the image. That's impossible. It's happening, Riley said. She pulled up more footage. They've hit every major military target worldwide. The president is missing. Most of the Joint Chiefs are confirmed dead. What do we do? Dr. Peterson asked, his voice shaking. Riley thought for a moment. Nothing, she decided. We stay hidden. This facility isn't on any public records. It's shielded from most scanning technology. If we're lucky, they don't know we're here. She turned back to the terminal and began sorting through the incoming reports, looking for any sign of organized resistance or surviving military command. Meanwhile, 3,000 miles away, Army Sergeant John Miller watched the alien ships from the porch of his family's ranch in Wyoming. He had been on leave, enjoying 2 weeks of peace before returning to his unit. Now that unit probably no longer existed. Miller went inside and opened the gun safe in his father's study. He pulled out rifles, shotguns, and his personal sidearm. As he loaded the weapons, he made a decision. He wouldn't hide. He wouldn't run. When the time was right, he would fight back. Neither Miller nor Riley knew it yet, but they were both about to become part of humanity's last hope. 1 week after the invasion, the aliens began their victory celebration. High Commander Zixvar chose the ruins of Washington, D.C. for the ceremony. His ships had cleared a large area where the National Mall once stood. Now it was an empty field, surrounded by broken buildings and toppled monuments. Alien soldiers set up a large stage with glowing purple lights. They placed their flag, a spiral galaxy symbol on a black background, on tall poles around the area. Drone cameras floated in the air, ready to broadcast the event across Earth and back to the Confederacy's homeworlds. Zixvar stood before a mirror in his command ship, admiring his ceremonial armor. The golden plates gleamed under the lights and the red cape flowed behind him. This was his moment of triumph. His name would be remembered for centuries as the conqueror of Earth. "The settlement ships have entered orbit, High Commander," Captain Moreltalk reported. "They await your signal to begin landing operations." "Excellent," Zixvar said. "Once we complete the ceremony, they may begin." "Is the human resistance completely eliminated?" "All major military forces have been destroyed," Moreltalk confirmed. "We've detected some small groups in remote areas, but they pose no threat. Our patrols are hunting them down." Zixvar nodded with satisfaction. "Everything is proceeding as planned. This planet will be fully integrated into the Confederacy within 1 standard month." At the ceremony site, thousands of alien soldiers stood in perfect rows. Their armor caught the sunlight as they waited for their leader. A smaller group of human prisoners knelt at the front, former government officials and military officers who had surrendered. Zixvar arrived in a transport ship that hovered above the stage. A beam of light carried him down to the platform. The alien soldiers thumped their weapons against their chest plates in a rhythmic salute. "Warriors of the Confederacy," Zixvar began, his voice amplified across the ruined city. "Today we claim this world in the name of our people. Earth is now ours." The soldiers roared in approval. The sound echoed off the broken buildings. The natives fought with what little they had. Zixvar continued, gesturing to the human prisoners. "But like all primitive species, they could not stand against our superior technology and strategy. Their resistance has been crushed." As the aliens celebrated, Lieutenant Riley watched the broadcast from the underwater station. The scientists had rigged a receiver to pick up the alien transmissions. They had spent the past week learning the aliens' language and studying their communications. "They think they've won," Riley said quietly. Dr. Peterson stood beside her. "Haven't they? Our military is gone, our governments have fallen." Riley shook her head. "They've only taken out our formal defense systems. They don't understand humans very well if they think that's all we have." She turned to the map they had created, showing known alien positions based on intercepted communications. "They're starting to spread out, setting up bases and landing zones for their settlement ships. They're getting comfortable." In Wyoming, Sergeant Miller had also been busy. He had gathered a small group of survivors, neighbors, local police, and a few other military personnel who happened to be in the area. They had been watching the aliens, learning their patrol patterns and collecting whatever weapons they could find. Miller's group huddled around a small radio as they listened to the alien victory speech. "They're celebrating already," said Officer Pete Jenkins, a local cop who had joined Miller's group. "They think it's over." Miller checked the ammunition in his rifle. "That's good. Overconfident enemies make mistakes." Across the world, similar scenes played out. Humans who had survived the initial attack were coming together. They watched from hideouts as the aliens declared victory. They listened as Zixvar announced plans to divide Earth into mining zones and settlement areas. And they began to plan. In the Arctic, Riley had established contact with other surviving military units through the emergency network. In Wyoming, Miller's group discovered an abandoned National Guard armory with untouched supplies. In other places, humans found ways to disable alien patrol ships or intercept their communications. The aliens celebrated their victory, unaware that the real battle had not even begun. 2 weeks after the invasion, Lieutenant Riley made an important discovery. She had been searching through the underwater station's backup servers. The main systems had been wiped when the aliens first attacked, but some older files remained in storage units that weren't connected to the outside network. Riley found a folder labeled Military Archives. Inside were training manuals, combat, doctrines, and historical battle analyses. She opened a document titled Fundamental Combat Principles and began to read. Her eyes stopped on a highlighted paragraph. "Never assume the battle is won until the enemy is completely defeated. History is filled with examples of forces that celebrated victory too soon, only to face devastating counterattacks from enemies they thought were beaten." Riley read the words again. She thought about the alien victory ceremony, their confidence, and their rush to begin settling the planet. "They think we're defeated," she whispered to herself. but they haven't actually finished the job. She pulled up a map of known alien positions. Their forces were concentrated around major cities and resource-rich areas. Large parts of Earth remained unwatched. The aliens had destroyed formal military bases but hadn't secured the countryside or the many hidden facilities that existed around the world. Riley picked up the secure radio. Over the past 2 weeks, she had made contact with several surviving military units and resistance groups. One of them was Sergeant Miller's growing band in Wyoming. "Miller, this is Riley. Are you there?" she called. After a moment of static, Miller's voice came through. "I'm here, Lieutenant. What's up?" "I found something important," Riley said. "The aliens made a critical mistake." In Wyoming, Miller listened as Riley explained her discovery. He sat on a hillside overlooking an alien mining operation they had been watching. The aliens had set up machines to dig resources from the Earth, with minimal guards protecting the site. "So they think they've won, but they haven't actually beaten us completely," Miller said when Riley finished. "Exactly. They destroyed our visible military, but left most of the population alive and many areas unwatched." Miller nodded even though Riley couldn't see him. "That reminds me of something my drill sergeant used to say in basic training. He called it rule number 1 of warfare. A cornered enemy with nothing to lose is the most dangerous enemy of all." "That's it," Riley said excitedly. "They've cornered us, but they haven't finished us off. And now we have nothing to lose." Miller looked down at the alien mining operation. "So what's the plan, Lieutenant?" "We need to coordinate," Riley said. "I've been in contact with other survivors. There's a physicist named Dr. Alan Wright who escaped from Los Alamos. He's been studying alien technology from a patrol ship they captured. We've got someone interesting too," Miller replied. "Kate Donovan. She was CIA Special Activities Division, good with explosives and guerrilla tactics." Riley felt a spark of hope for the first time since the invasion. The aliens think humans are primitive and easy to predict, but they don't understand what we're capable of when we're fighting for survival. "What's our first move?" Miller asked. "Information," Riley said firmly. "We need to understand their weaknesses. Dr. Wright thinks their communication systems might be vulnerable to certain frequencies, and we need to understand their command structure." Miller watched as an alien patrol left the mining site. Their security is getting sloppy. They're not expecting resistance anymore." "That's good," Riley said. "Keep watching them, but don't engage yet. We need a coordinated plan." After signing off, Riley returned to the military archives. She began pulling every document about asymmetric warfare, resistance tactics, and fighting superior forces. The aliens had technological advantages, but humans had something perhaps more valuable: thousands of years of experience fighting against the odds. In their rush to claim victory, the aliens had forgotten the most important rule of warfare. Now Riley and the other survivors would remind them in ways they would never forget. 1 month after the invasion, a small group gathered in an abandoned mine shaft in Colorado. The old silver mine had been closed for decades, but now it served as the perfect meeting place, deep enough to block alien scans and large enough to house the growing resistance. Lieutenant Riley had traveled for 2 weeks to reach the location, moving only at night and avoiding alien patrols. Sergeant Miller arrived with 3 of his best fighters. They were joined by Dr. Alan Wright, Kate Donovan, and a mechanical engineer named Benjamin Cruz, who had worked for NASA before the invasion. "Thank you all for coming," Riley said, looking at the faces lit by the dim light of battery-powered lamps. "This is the first time leaders of the resistance have met in person. It's a risk, but we need to coordinate our efforts." Miller nodded. "My team has been watching the aliens for weeks now. They're settling in, getting comfortable. Their patrols are predictable." "They think they've won," Kate Donovan said. She was a small woman with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. "That makes them vulnerable." Dr. Wright spread papers on a makeshift table. "I've been studying their technology from parts we've salvaged. There's something interesting about their communication systems." The group leaned in as Wright explained his discovery. "They use a specific frequency range for all their communications. It's efficient and advanced, but also a potential weakness. If we can create the right kind of interference, we might be able to disrupt their ability to coordinate. How do we create that interference? Riley asked. Benjamin Cruz spoke up. I think I can help with that. Before the invasion, I was working on a project involving electromagnetic pulse technology. If I can get the right parts, I could build devices that target their specific frequencies. Kate Donovan had been studying maps of alien positions. Their command structure is very hierarchical, she noted. Each region has a single commander who reports directly to High Commander Zix Var. If we remove these regional commanders, it could create chaos in their chain of command. As they continued talking, a pattern emerged. The aliens were technologically superior but surprisingly inflexible. They followed strict protocols and rarely adapted to changing situations. They also underestimated humans, treating them as primitive and predictable. They've made a fundamental mistake, Riley said. They judged us by our technology, not by our nature. Miller agreed. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know how to adapt, how to use terrain, how to fight when outmatched. By the end of the meeting, they had developed a three-part plan. First, Dr. Wright and Cruz would create devices to disrupt alien communications. These would be distributed to resistance cells around the world. Second, small teams led by people, like Miller and Donovan, would begin targeted attacks on alien supply lines and outlying posts, forcing them to spread their forces thin. Finally, they would identify and eliminate regional alien commanders, creating confusion in the enemy ranks. We can't match them in direct combat, Riley reminded everyone. But we don't need to. We just need to show them that controlling Earth will cost more than it's worth. As the meeting broke up, Dr. Wright pulled Riley aside. There's something else you should know, he said quietly. I've been analyzing their ship designs. The mothership that carries High Commander Zix Var isn't just a command center, it's their central network hub. If we could get access to it, we might be able to affect their entire system. Riley considered this information. That's valuable, but let's focus on the current plan first. The mothership is too well protected right now. As they prepared to leave the mine and return to their separate bases, Miller approached Riley. Do you think this will work, Lieutenant? Riley looked at the diverse group of humans, soldiers, scientists, engineers, and ordinary people who had become fighters by necessity. It has to work, she said simply. And it will, because the aliens don't understand the first rule of warfare. They don't understand what humans are capable of when everything is at stake. 2 months after the resistance meeting, the first coordinated attacks began. In the early morning darkness, Sergeant Miller led a small team toward an alien outpost near the old Yellowstone National Park. The aliens had set up a communication relay station there, one of many that formed their global network. Miller's team moved silently through the trees. Each person carried a backpack with equipment designed by Dr. Wright and Benjamin Cruz. They called the devices jammers, small boxes that could disrupt alien communications at close range. Remember, Miller whispered to his team, plant you. The devices and get out. No direct engagement unless absolutely necessary. The alien outpost was a silver dome surrounded by a force field that glowed faintly blue in the darkness. Only 4 alien guards patrolled the perimeter. They moved in regular patterns, showing no concern about possible threats. Miller waited until 2 guards moved to the far side of the dome. He signaled, and his team rushed forward. They placed the jammer devices in the ground at specific points, around the perimeter, exactly as Dr. Wright had instructed. Once the jammers were in place, Miller pressed a button on his remote. The devices activated with a soft hum. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the force field flickered and faded. The lights in the dome dimmed. The alien guards noticed immediately. They rushed to check their equipment, speaking urgently, into their communication devices. But their calls for help went nowhere. The jammers blocked all signals going in or out. Miller's team disappeared back into the forest before the confused aliens could organize a proper search. By sunrise, they were miles away, headed toward their next target. Similar scenes played out across the globe. Kate Donovan led operations in Europe, targeting alien supply depots. In Asia, resistance cells disrupted mining operations. In South America, fighters damaged landing zones for alien transport ships. None of these attacks could seriously harm the alien occupation on their own, but together, they created a growing problem that the aliens couldn't ignore. On the alien mothership, High Commander Zixvar received disturbing reports. Communication outages in 12 sectors, Captain Moreltalk reported. Supply shipments delayed or missing. 3 regional commanders have lost contact with their outposts. Zixvar paced the command deck. How is this possible? The human military was destroyed. It appears to be guerrilla tactics, sir. Small groups striking quickly and then disappearing. Find them, Zixvar ordered. Send more patrols. Increase security at all installations. But finding the human resistance proved difficult. The aliens had mapped every military base and government facility before the invasion. But they knew little about the vast wilderness areas, the abandoned mines, the countless small towns and hidden places where humans could hide and plan. As alien forces spread out to search for the resistance, they became more vulnerable. Patrols disappeared. Equipment failed mysteriously. Information stopped flowing smoothly through their carefully organized system. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Riley worked from the underwater station, coordinating the global resistance through the secure military network. Each day, more survivors made contact. Each week, their actions grew more coordinated and effective. Dr. Wright continued to study alien technology. One day, he made an exciting discovery. I found a way into their ships, he told Riley over the secure line. Their scout ships have an emergency override system. If we can capture one intact, we might be able to use it to access larger vessels. How do we capture a ship without destroying it? Riley asked. The jammers, Wright explained. If modified correctly, they could temporarily disable a scout ship's systems without permanently damaging them. Riley immediately passed this information to Miller and the other field teams. Find a scout ship with a small crew, she instructed. Disable it with the modified jammers and capture it intact. We need to learn how to operate their technology. A week later, Miller's team spotted the perfect target. A scout ship with only 2 alien crew members landing in a remote area to collect mineral samples. They set their trap and waited. The human resistance was about to take a major step forward. They were no longer just disrupting the alien occupation. They were preparing to take the fight directly to the enemy. The captured alien scout ship changed everything. Miller's team had successfully disabled the small vessel using the modified jammers. When the 2 alien crew members emerged to check the problem, Kate Donovan's fighters quickly overwhelmed them. The aliens were taken prisoner, and the humans gained their first intact alien spacecraft. Dr. Wright arrived 3 days later to examine their prize. His eyes lit up when he saw the sleek silver ship sitting in the old aircraft hangar they were using as a base. This is incredible, he said, running his hand along the smooth hull. With this, we can learn how their systems work, maybe even how to fly it. It took Wright and Cruz 2 weeks of careful study to understand the ship's controls. The aliens had designed their technology for their own 4-armed bodies, making it challenging for humans to operate. But the engineers were persistent, and eventually they made a breakthrough. The ship's computer responds to thought patterns, not just physical controls, Wright explained to Miller and Riley, who had traveled to see their captured prize. These helmets the aliens wear aren't just for protection, they're neural interfaces. Cruz had modified one of the helmets to work with human brainwaves. It's not perfect, he admitted, but it should let us operate the basic flight and weapon systems. Riley looked at the modified helmet. Who's going to test it? Miller stepped forward. I will. The first test flight was nerve-wracking. Miller sat in the alien pilot seat wearing the modified helmet. As Wright had instructed, he focused his thoughts on the ship, imagining it powering up and rising from the ground. To everyone's amazement, the ship responded. It hummed to life and hovered 3 feet above the hangar floor. It's working, Cruz exclaimed. Miller carefully guided the ship outside and into the sky. The neural interface translated his thoughts into actions. allowing him to fly the alien craft with increasing confidence. By the end of the day, he had mastered the basic flight controls and was working on the weapons systems. When he landed, Riley was waiting with an excited expression. "This changes our entire strategy," she said. "We now have access to their technology. We can fly above their patrols instead of sneaking past them." But Miller had discovered something even more valuable during his flight. "The ship automatically connected to their network," he told Riley. "I could see their communications, their deployment patterns, everything. And they had no idea I was watching. This intelligence goldmine allowed the Resistance to plan their most daring operation yet." Using the scout ship, Miller would lead a small team to infiltrate the alien mothership that carried High Commander Zix Var. Meanwhile, Dr. Wright had completed his work on a computer virus that could infect the aliens' central command system. "If we can upload this to their main network node on the mothership," he explained, "it will spread throughout their entire fleet. Their weapons, life support, navigation, everything will fail." The plan had enormous risks. The mothership was the most heavily guarded alien vessel in Earth's orbit. Even with a working scout ship, getting aboard would be extremely dangerous. "We might not make it back," Miller told his volunteer team as they prepared for the mission. "Kate," Donovan checked her weapons. "If we don't try, there won't be anything to come back to anyway." Riley would not be going on the space mission. Her role was to coordinate a simultaneous global attack on all major alien ground installations. When the virus hit the alien network, the Resistance would strike everywhere at once. The night before the mission, Riley found Miller sitting alone, looking at the stars. "Nervous?" she asked, sitting beside him. Miller nodded. "Not about dying, about failing." "You won't fail," Riley said with certainty. "The aliens made a mistake when they thought the battle was over. We're about to show them just how wrong they were." The next morning, Miller and his team boarded the scout ship. As the hangar doors opened, Riley gave them a final salute. Wayne, most important mission in human history had begun. Miller's stolen scout ship approached the alien mothership with perfect timing. A supply convoy was returning from Earth's surface, and his small vessel slipped in among the larger ships. The mothership was enormous, a floating city of metal and light that stretched for miles across the blackness of space. "We're being scanned," Kate Donovan warned as they neared the docking bay. Miller focused his thoughts through the neural helmet. "Send the clearance codes we intercepted." The ship's computer transmitted the stolen codes. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the docking bay doors began to open. "It worked," Miller breathed. "Everyone remember the plan. We have 30 minutes to reach the central command system, upload the virus, and get back to the ship." The scout ship landed among dozens of identical vessels. Miller and his team of 4 exited wearing stolen alien armor. The helmets concealed their human features, and they had practiced moving with the strange gait of the 4-armed aliens. They walked purposefully through the mothership's corridors, following the map they had extracted from the scout ship's computer. Alien crew members passed them without a second glance. Their disguises were working. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, Lieutenant Riley gave the signal to begin the synchronized ground attack. Resistance fighters worldwide activated jammers near major alien installations. As communication systems failed, the fighters moved in with weapons captured from alien patrols. Back on the mothership, Miller's team reached the central computer core, a massive chamber filled with glowing blue equipment. 2 alien technicians worked at control panels. "Now," Miller whispered. Kate Donovan moved first, stunning both technicians with modified alien weapons. Crews rushed to the main console and connected Dr. Wright's virus device. A progress bar appeared on the small screen. "Uploading," Crews reported. 15%, 20%. An alarm suddenly blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed along the walls and ceiling. "They've detected us," Miller said. "Keep going. We need that virus uploaded." The chamber door slid open. 4 alien guards rushed in, weapons raised. Miller and Kate fired, taking down 2 guards, but the others found cover and returned fire. Bolts of energy scorched the walls around them. 60%, Crews called out. "Just need a few more minutes." Miller turned to the team member called, "Sam, get back to the ship, start the engines, we'll be right behind you." As Sam raced away, Miller and Kate kept the guards pinned down with steady fire. More aliens were coming. They could hear the pounding footsteps in the corridor. 85%, Cruz reported, his voice tense. The chamber door opened again. This time, a tall figure in golden armor stepped through. High Commander Zixvar himself had arrived, his 4 arms each holding a different weapon. "Humans," Zixvar hissed. "I should have known." Miller stepped forward, removing his helmet to reveal his human face. "You made a mistake, Commander. You celebrated too soon." 100%, Cruz shouted. "Virus uploaded." Throughout the mothership, systems began to fail. Lights flickered. Gravity wavered. On screens around the command core, reports flooded, and of ships losing power and weapons going offline. Zixvar stared in disbelief. "What have you done?" "Reminded you of rule number 1, Miller said. "Never assume the battle is won until the enemy is completely defeated." The virus spread through the alien network at incredible speed. On Earth, alien weapons stopped working. Force fields collapsed. The resistance fighters pushed forward, taking control of installation after installation. In orbit, alien ships drifted powerless. Life support systems remained functioning. The virus had been programmed to spare lives, but weapons and engines were dead. Zixvar sank to his knees. How? How did primitive humans defeat the might of the Confederacy? Miller kept his weapon, trained on the alien commander. "You judged us by our technology, not by our will to survive. That was your mistake." Back on Earth, Riley watched the alien ships going dark in orbit. The Resistance had won. Humanity would survive. 3 days later, Zixvar signed the surrender document. The Confederacy agreed to withdraw from Earth and recognize it as a sovereign planet. As the aliens prepared to leave using emergency systems not affected by the virus, Zixvar approached Miller one last time. "The Confederacy will add a new rule to our military doctrine," the alien commander said. "Never underestimate humans." Miller nodded. "That's a good rule to remember." As the alien ships departed Earth's orbit, humanity began the long process of rebuilding. And they did so with the knowledge that they were not alone in the universe, but also that they could defend their home against whatever might come next.